Good morning or afternoon or evening, whatever time you're watching this. So a while back, I did a video on marry the house, date the rate, and about the benefits of doing so in brief. However, I wanted to add a caveat to that and go over the five potential pitfalls of that strategy. So this is based on an article written through Realtor.com. So marry the house, date the rate is the catchphrase that sprang up when interest rates kind of started to rise and everything. Um, Marry the house means that you should focus on finding the right property rather than trying to time your purchase to get the lowest interest rates. And dating the rate means you're not committed to that particular mortgage for the loan for the life of the loan, as long as you can refinance it down the road. However, this doesn't work for everybody. So I wanted to go over some of the things to keep in mind if that's the theory that you have. So first off, the interest rates, what happens if the interest rates don't go down? Right now, we're at a 6 to 7% interest rate. And that's where kind of where it was before the pandemic. During the pandemic, we were down to, 2, 3%, somewhere in there. But we really are in a more normal interest rate scenario right now. So let's say that you say, okay, in 6 months or a year, however long, I can refinance. Well, what if in 6 months to a year, the interest rates are actually higher and not lower? So that is one thing to factor in. It says here for insights on how rates rise and fall, to take a look at Freddie Mac's historical mortgage rates data. On May 6, 2010, the 30-year fixed rate was 5% before dropping to 3.35% on May 2nd, 2013. So one thing to look at there is they're comparing 2010 to 2013. So that actually took longer than 6 months to a year to see those mortgage rates fall. Also, it says here rates then fell to 2.65 in January 2021 and then soared to 6.48 in January 2023. So again, another 2 year gap, 2, 3 year gap here where the mortgage rates are changing. So the pattern of rising and falling interest rates has repeated over and over for years, depending on what's happening in the world. But that doesn't mean that we have a crystal ball into what the economy is going to do down the road and whether or not interest rates are going to be going up more or falling. There's really kind of a mixed bag there right now. Now, the second thing to consider is thinking that you can refinance whenever. So you take the plunge, you marry the house, essentially, and your mortgage has written into it what we call a prepayment penalty. So that means for a certain length of time, sometimes it's 6 months, sometimes it's 6 years, you would have to pay a penalty if you were to pay off that mortgage to refinance. So if you have a prepayment penalty or the specific terms of your mortgage don't allow you in some way, shape, or form to refinance without a penalty, then you could end up where you're going to be paying more for the refinance than what you would normally pay, especially if you see that interest rates are starting to drop shortly after you've purchased your home. So thinking about what the terms of your mortgage are currently are very important as to the concept of marry the house and date the rate. Another thing to keep in mind are unexpected fees. So refinancing your mortgage is not free. You will still have closing costs. You will still have origination fees. You will still have title companies that you have to pay or mortgage lenders that you have to pay. So typically your closing costs range from 2 to 6% of the loan amount. So you'll have to figure out if the savings from the lower rate surpasses the cost of refinancing. And that's another thing, going back to the prepayment penalty, is it worth you paying that prepayment penalty to save some money? So you want to factor that in if you have a prepayment penalty in place. So you also want to consider the fact that reaching a break-even point could take a few years. So you may not see the savings of refinancing right away, other than possibly a lower mortgage rate or monthly mortgage payment, and a lower interest rate. It might take a few years for all that to balance out. So it says here, refinancing to a new 30-year loan could mean you'll be making mortgage payments for several more years, even if the rate's lower and the payments are less. So you want to consider the length of time. So a 30-year fixed mortgage, let's say you're 10 years into it, you only have 20 years left to pay, but then you refinance, you have another 30 years. So you actually are paying on your mortgage for 40 years or on your house for 40 years, not 30 years total. So that's something to keep in mind as well. But opting for a shorter term avoids extending the loan, but your monthly payments will likely increase. So you may consider a 15-year mortgage if the payments are manageable. So number 4, not letting rates drop low enough. So when you're dating the rate to lower your monthly mortgage payments, you need to figure out what the magic rate is to make refinancing work in your favor. So a common rule of thumb is when mortgage rates are at least 0.5% to 1% lower than your current rate. But that is a general guideline and doesn't apply to every situation. So here's a breakdown of different scenarios for a $300,000 home with a 30-year fixed rate loan over the course of 1 year. Possible current interest rate right now is 6.75%. So we're in the 6 to 7% range. Then that equals out to a $1,945 monthly payment. With a possible lower interest rate, let's say 4.75%, so we'd be down 2%, would equal a $1,565 monthly payment. So the homeowner who waits a year and snags this 2% lower rate will pay $380 less per month. So you want to kind of look at the rates, but again, we don't have a crystal ball. So one day, 1 week or 1 month, they could go down, and then the next month they're back up again. So, or they could go down 1 month and you think this is the bottom of where it's going to be, and then the next month they go down even more. So it is a little bit of a guessing game when it comes to the interest rates, because we can follow the trends and that's important to look at. But especially right now, it seems like the feds, as they raise and lower interest rates, are a little not following what we generally think that they should be doing right now. And finally, the 5th thing to keep in mind is that refinancing is not a sure thing. You still have to qualify for the loan if you're going to refinance. So if you've had any major life changes, got married or divorced, had a kid or had kids move out, job losses, drop in home value, medical event, any of that can affect your credit score, your debt to income ratio, all that kind of stuff. So you want to make sure that you still meet the basic loan requirements to qualify for refinancing your home. So before you marry your dream home, take a good look at your current income, your monthly expenses, and your long-term financial goals. So with all this in mind, you still want to make sure that the home that you purchase is a home that you can afford, at least on a monthly basis, regardless of being able to refinance in the future. At the same time, yes, if you find the home that you love and it doesn't put you in a financial bind, then maybe Marry the House and Date the Rate is right for you. So just things to keep in mind. I hope that helps some. And if you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out. Thanks. Have a great day. Bye. Hi. Thank you for watching my video. Please click the like and the subscribe button to my YouTube channel. And if you're ready to get the process started with home buying or home selling, then please give me a call today. Thank you. Bye.